Welcome everyone to the Vagina Dialogues. My name is Shirley Weir. I'm the founder of Menopause Chicks. This is one of my most favorite things to do. And the reason it's my favorite, not so much that I love to talk about vaginas, because I do, but really because this is one of the things that keeps me awake at night. There's a huge gap in women's health. Vaginal dryness, vaginal atrophy is going to be experienced by over 80% of women, but yet less than 4% of women are currently receiving a solution or a treatment that they deserve. So we're going to talk about a lot of things, but that really is my why for being here, because it's such a huge gap in women's health. And every day at Menopause Chicks, we are working to close that gap by empowering women to navigate perimenopause to menopause and beyond with as much confidence and ease as they can. And we do that through educational events like the one that you are watching right now. I should have just made sure that I can move. There we go. So we're going to talk about vulva and vaginal health. And the medical term that's used for this was coined just a few years ago, and it's genitourinary syndrome of menopause, or GSM. Now, those of you that follow Menopause Chicks, you know I'm quite a stickler for words, and I don't use this term. And this is the reason why. It is likely only understood by a percentage of health professionals. So not even all health professionals will refer to what we're going to be talking about tonight as GSM. And hardly anybody, in fact, I don't even know a woman on the planet who has ever said, oh, I think I'm experiencing GSM. It just doesn't enjoy that much awareness. And finally, the real reason that I don't use the term GSM is because syndrome of menopause, menopause is not an ailment or a disease or a condition. Most of what we're talking about tonight is actually a syndrome of hormone decline or hyaluronic acid decline or other things that are going on in our bodies. So menopause is just one day. It's the 12-month anniversary on the calendar. It's 12 months period free. Then you've reached menopause. You can celebrate that day, and then we're in post-menopause for the rest of our lives. So I just had my 55th birthday. I reached menopause when I was 49. So I have been in post-menopause for 6 years. When I started Menopause Chicks 10 years ago, I had no idea that I was about to even learn as much about vulva and vaginal health as I have. And I know that I'm not alone in that, because many of us, 20% of women sail through perimenopause and they're taking good care of themselves, and their hormones aren't too out of balance. And so they think that they are sailing through, and that could very well be true. But after menopause, estrogen goes for a deep decline. And so for a lot of women, they're waking up maybe 55 like I am, or 60, and they're noticing things that they were not prepared for, informed about. They might think they're the only ones. I'm telling you, you're not alone. And that can be quite scary. It can also have a huge impact on quality of life, and we're going to talk about that. You probably noticed that I have like pictures of fruit, and the vagina is really hard to illustrate. These, in fact, are beautiful photos from an artist named Dory Lane, and she makes vulva puppets. So just to clarify, because sometimes I gloss over this, and I realized my daughter pointed this out to me this summer. My daughter is 18 years old, and she was putting together a website for the Vaginal Moisturizer, which I will mention in a few minutes. And she told me that she was learning for the first time the difference between the vulva and the vagina. So sometimes we say vagina and mean it to be an umbrella term to talk about all of our pelvic health, but that's not actually true, which I'm sure you know. The vagina is inside and the external body part is called the vulva. So these are Vulva Puppets by Dory Lane, if you want to go and look them up. So our agenda for today is to talk about vaginal dryness, moisturizers and lubricants and the difference. We're going to touch upon incontinence a little bit and how that is related to the vagina dialogues. And I want to get started with this slide. I love to talk about the why. I'd love actually if you popped into the chat right now and told me why you are here, why you signed up for this. Was it my constant nagging or was it something else? And what made you decide that today was a great day to prioritize your vaginal health? I told you why I'm here. I'm super passionate about closing the gap in women's health. We are not meant to suffer, and we deserve to feel amazing because we're the first generation of women to reach 50 and have 50 or more years to plan for. So this is really important. And to take that down to why vaginal health, these are some of the reasons why it's important to make this a priority for our health. We want to be able to sit comfortably. We want to be able to move comfortably. We want to be able to dance and go to yoga comfortably. We want to be able to have comfortable penetrative sex. We want to feel great in our bodies, and we want to be able to wear the clothes that we want to wear. I purposely put that on here because this was something that I only learned about a year and a half ago. A story about a patient. I was interviewing a doctor who's a huge contributor to the Menopause Chicks community. And she was telling me about one of her patients who showed up in her office and said that she was so glad that summertime was here. And this physician was like, summertime? Like, what are you talking about? And she said, well, now I can wear sundresses because my vaginal atrophy is so progressed that it's uncomfortable to wear pants or jeans. And that was a story that like punched me in the gut, to be honest. I just can't believe that this is a part of women's health that is so under discussed and under addressed that we can't wear the clothes that we want to. I also want to make sure that we all have information on how to avoid UTIs and avoid incontinence and prolapse. I've got one more. I don't know if you can see it on my screen. My head's covering it, but I add brain health to the move part of this why circle. And I don't know if anyone can guess why that's there, but what happens whenever a woman is experiencing vaginal dryness, vaginal atrophy, maybe incontinence, certainly prolapse? The first thing that we do is we stop moving. We stop exercising. We stop going to line dancing. And what can happen when we stop exercising? Pretty much everybody is aware of this, about the importance of movement and exercise for our brain health, for our mental health, for our brain capacity, and to slow the decline of brain aging diseases. So this is really important. If we protect and prioritize our vaginal health, we're actually protecting and preventing any well, not any, but preventing, it's helping and contributing to preventing dementia and brain decline. Okay, this slide, vulva and vaginal dryness, I'm going to go through all of the reasons why this vulva and vaginal dryness can occur. So the first reason is a decline in hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is a natural occurring molecule that our body makes on its own, but it starts to decline in our 30s and our 40s, and then more dramatically post-menopause. The second reason is fluctuating hormones in perimenopause. So as you may know, in perimenopause, those years leading up to menopause, as our body is preparing for the end of reproduction, hormones fluctuate up and down. Sometimes it can be quite like a roller coaster. That can contribute to vulva and vaginal dryness. The third bullet here is probably the most common reason, and that is after hormones fluctuate in those perimenopause years, we go 12 months without a period, reach menopause, and then estrogen goes for a deep decline. Now, why is that important, and what does it mean for vulva and vaginal dryness? Well, estrogen is our juicy hormone. It's the hormone that for all the years leading up to menopause, estrogen has been making our eyes moist, our mouth moist, our joints lubricated, and our vaginas moist. And when estrogen declines, all of those things we can notice drier, and in some cases significant dryness or atrophy, which means the muscle, which a vagina is, literally shrinks and gets smaller. Postpartum can also be as we're experiencing vaginal dryness, again, because of fluctuating hormones after giving birth. The birth control pill is a big culprit. Now, again, that's because the birth control pill is putting hormones into our body that we don't actually need in an effort to prevent pregnancy. I mean, we need it if you need to prevent pregnancy, but it's not a time in our lives when we need those extra hormones. And so that can contribute to vaginal dryness. So this is an important message for all of us who we're speaking to women, maybe at work or younger women that we love, like our daughters and nieces, to remind them that the birth control pill can have this impact on our quality of life. If you know anyone who's going through breast cancer treatment or taking certain medications, other health conditions, it can result in vaginal dryness. And it's probably something that they would want to speak with their healthcare team, either their physician or their pharmacist, or shoot me a note that we can, help them find a solution that's right for them. And then this was another big surprise for me when I found out that overuse of panty liners and absorbent pads can contribute to vaginal dryness. I mean, I'd never thought about it before. It makes so much sense, but there's such absorbent and really good quality products on the market right now. What they do is they actually suck the moisture out of our skin, out of the vulva, and out of the skin cells of the vaginal wall. So now we're going to jump to prevention and treatment, which I have added to this screen recently with P and T, because I want to make sure that when I'm talking about solutions, and there are a lot of easy, viable solutions, that we're speaking to both groups of women who might be experiencing vaginal dryness now, and who have recently or have learned that it's not something that gets better with time. So they're looking for a treatment. And we also want to make sure that we're speaking to women who really have embraced a preventative strategy when it comes to their health, and they know how to prevent vulva and vaginal dryness. So the first one is to have lots of sex and orgasms. And that is a preventative strategy. That's why there's a P there. And this is really important because women who may already be experiencing vaginal dryness may have already noticed that they're experiencing pain or dryness with penetrative sex. So this is a preventative strategy. If you already are living and experiencing vaginal dryness, I'm not recommending that you have lots of sex, but the energy to the pelvic floor contributes to that natural moisture and generating natural moisture. So that is something that you can do to prevent vaginal dryness. Second thing, but so important, is to work with a pelvic floor physiotherapist. Now, this is a preventative and a treatment option. Everyone with a pelvic floor needs to work with a pelvic floor physiotherapist. And I don't know about you, but preventing all of the things that pelvic floor physiotherapists work with on a regular basis: incontinence, prolapse, constipation, rectocele, vaginal dryness. Those aren't things that I ever want to have to deal with in any capacity. Well, I do have to deal with them because I do have a prolapse, but having a pelvic floor physio and their education and exercises and custom programs that are going to be right for you, I can't say enough about that profession. The third thing is moisturizing with hyaluronic acid. Now, I mentioned that hyaluronic acid is a naturally occurring molecule. So our body makes it, or used to make it, on its own. It starts to decline in our 30s and 40s, about 10% per decade. And then after menopause, just like estrogen, production of hyaluronic acid goes for a steep decline. Now, hyaluronic acid might be a term that you're familiar with. It has showed up in beauty product advertising since 2008. And in 2013, research done by Dr. Petra Stute showed that hyaluronic acid was as effective at preventing and or treating vaginal dryness as estrogen therapy, localized estrogen therapy, which we're going to talk about in a minute. This is important for all of us to be aware of, because I'll tell you why. It's a P and a T. It's preventative and it's non-prescription. So if you are moisturizing with hyaluronic acid, it's a way to prevent vaginal dryness without having to wait for the condition to show up and then have to go to your doctor and receive treatment and try to reverse it. Does that make sense? It's kind of like, if you want to keep a grape, then keep it on the vine and keep it moisturized. Don't wait until it turns into a raisin and then have to work really extra hard to get it to turn back into a grape again. 2 years ago, 2 years and a bit, so many members in the Menopause Chicks community were speaking up about this particular challenge, that we took the challenge to Pure Pharmacy, and they formulated this hyaluronic acid vaginal moisturizer for menopause chicks. And the results have been like overwhelming. So proud of this project, so proud of the women who spoke up, so proud of the women who have tested various iterations of this. The reason why we like this, it's compounded at Pure Pharmacy. It doesn't have any additives or preservatives. It doesn't have any hormones. If that's something that you are, if you're going through cancer treatment, that might be something that you really want to avoid. It doesn't have any adders or fillers. So moisturizing with hyaluronic acid, the research shows that it's as effective as estrogen therapy, which was one of the only options women had prior to 2013 and prior to 2019 when this was formulated. And it's also effective as a treatment. So that's why it has a P and a T. Number 4 is hormone therapy. Now, what I'm referring to when I have preventative, like P and T there, is that if you are using hormone therapy systemically, as I've been since I was 48, so it might be giving your body enough estrogen to prevent vaginal dryness. So I reached menopause at age 49. I started using hormone therapy just before that time and didn't really have any issues with vaginal dryness really until just recently, when I added the hyaluronic acid to my regular moisturizing routine. So that is one way to prevent it. It might not be a preventative strategy forever, but it's definitely something, if you're in the transition phase of perimenopause to postmenopause years, that might be working for you. The treatment option under the umbrella of hormone therapy is localized estrogen therapy. So that's estrogen that's applied directly to the vagina, and that can come in the form of a ring or a cream or a suppository. There's so many options. One of the brand names that gets mentioned a lot is Vagifem, or Invexi. I have a list on the Menopause Chicks community if you need a list that you want to talk to your doctor or your pharmacist about. It's very effective. You do need a prescription, and you do need the condition to exist in order for a doctor to write the prescription. And that's something that a lot of our members are like, oh, I just don't really ever want to go through that. And so they do enjoy the preventative strategies and moisturizing with hyaluronic acid. The other thing I forgot to mention about hyaluronic acid was that in May of 2021, so less than a year ago, the International Society of Gynecologists, they recommended to all of their members, and I can link the research if anyone's interested or wants to take it to their doctor. They recommended moisturizing as the first line of defense against vulva and vaginal dryness and atrophy. There are other options, and it's really important that you know all of the menu options on the table. And it might also be really important for you to know all of these options when you're sharing this presentation, maybe with your mother or your grandmother or somebody else that you love, and you just want to make sure that they have this information too. So number 6 is red light therapy. And I have an example of the V-Sculpt here. This is made by a company called joylux.com. This is the V-Sculpt. Mine's not charged right now, I'm sorry. So you can't see the red lights, but right here, this is red light therapy that actually helps to build and restore collagen inside the vagina. So it's an at-home treatment. And it's obviously, you know, I might have put these in order. I'd like you to try moisturizing. I'd like you to maybe consider moisturizing and localized estrogen therapy. But we have, you know, so many women in our community, and we're all at a different age and stage of dryness, and, you know, and the pinpoint on this journey of perimenopause to menopause and beyond. So this might be something that you do want to consider. It's really comfortable. It's a great product. I love it. Kim Vopney, who is my co-author of Mokita, and she's the vagina coach. She uses this as well, and speaks of it very highly. So joylux.com is the website. The product is called the V-Sculpt. And then number 7 is actually laser therapy in a physician's office. So the brand name, one of the most popular brand names, is Mona Lisa Touch, if you've heard of that. So there are certain gynecologists and physicians who have the laser technology in their office. If you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/MenopauseChicks, I have an interview there with Dr. Herbert Wong, who's a gynecologist in Toronto, and he performs laser therapy using Mona Lisa Touch, and lots of success stories there. Oh yeah, I was just highlighting this in blue because I wanted you to make sure that you saw the differences between preventing and treatment. When I speak about seeing a pelvic floor physiotherapist, to women, one of the main replies that I always get is, oh, it's okay, I don't have any problems yet. I'll do that if I run into any problems. Well, this is my story. I went to see a pelvic floor physiotherapist because I was learning so much about it from Kim Vopney. And I went a little over 2 years ago, no symptoms. The only thing that I could really relate to was leaking urine when I sneezed. And I have seasonal allergies. I can even feel them coming on a bit today. But some of those high allergy days where I'm sneezing like 20 or 30 times in a row can be a bit challenging. I went to pelvic floor physiotherapist. You can also watch the video of that because I recorded it on my YouTube channel just so that I could share with women just what an amazing educational experience it is. Don't worry, it's not X-rated. Just lots to learn. And of course, I learned the knack, which is a great procedure to make sure that you don't leak urine when you sneeze. But I also learned that I have a stage 2-3 bladder prolapse and a rectocele. So I left that appointment with the pelvic floor physiotherapist, with so much education, really feeling like I was heard and understood and was having informed conversations like I had never had before. So again, I'm just emphasizing that you definitely need to have a health team at this stage of your life, and you definitely need to have a pelvic floor physiotherapist on that team. As you know, I also work with Kim Vopney, and she is the Vagina coach. Now, Kim is not a pelvic floor physio, but she is an amazing pelvic health guru and so smart, has absolutely the best online resources, hands down, on her website at vaginacoach.com. And she also just recently released a brand new app, which you can get. It's called the Buff Muff app. I don't know if I put it on the next slide or not. This is Kim talking sign language with her vulva puppet. But if you go to vaginacoach.com and you look at under online programs, you can download the Buff Muff app. The exercises are like phenomenal. They're so good, less than 10 minutes a day. And, you're not leaving your house, but I think, that's something we've all gotten used to over the last couple of years. What I really enjoy about Kim's app and her online programs is getting the reminder on my phone so that I can be consistent. Because the thing with practicing regular pelvic floor exercises, especially if it's new to you, and maybe if it's, you're not experiencing symptoms, but you really want to get a jump on this, it's remembering to do it. So can't recommend that enough either. Okay, I want to jump to moisturizers and lubricants. And if the question is, should I use both? The answer is yes. Okay, there we go, both. Oops, sorry. So on the right side of your screen, you'll see a picture of the Menopause Chicks hyaluronic acid moisturizer. I choose to use this picture on the left. I took it myself in a local drugstore to really drive home how confusing and overwhelming this can be, especially if we get to this aisle in the drugstore, the pharmacy, or the big box store, and we're like, what? It says moisturizer, it says lubricant. I don't know what to do. I don't want to waste a lot of money. So we're going to talk about a couple of tips that I want to make sure that you have, whether you're buying vaginal moisturizer or anything in a pharmacy or over the counter, is take that package and turn it around. It is so important that we become informed consumers and learn to read the ingredient list. So this is an example on the left of a product that's marketed as a vaginal moisturizer. And these are the products that are in the ingredient list: water, aqua, which means water. So there's water and then there's more water. And if you've been washing your hands as much as I have been over the last 2 years, then you know that water is drying. I can't touch water without then putting on moisturizer. Water, aqua, glycerin. Glycerin is a derivative of sugar, and it can, for some of us, lead to yeast infection. Wax. A lot of products are housed in wax, so like a capsule or even an applicator. The wax is designed to melt upon your body heat, but it doesn't always. And so some of the pharmacists at Pure have told me stories of how doctors have their patient in their office. They're calling the pharmacy. They're like, I don't know what's going on. This woman has a concern over vaginal discharge, and it's not yeast. I don't know what it is. And the pharmacist at Pure told me that more often than not, it's wax that never melted. So if that's not something that you want to deal with, then avoid that. And then usually there's a long list of words that I can't pronounce, but additives or preservatives that are added to these products because they need to extend the shelf life. So that is going to be an important decision for you when you are choosing a moisturizer. And this slide is out of order. I'm so sorry, but this is from the International Society of Gynecologists that I was telling you in May. This session is available on their website, maybe only to your doctor, but it's definitely accessible. And really great that the clinical evidence is there. Dr. Petra Stute is one of the presenters, and they take it, not only are they talking about the first line of defense for vaginal dryness and vaginal atrophy, but they're also talking about the importance of prioritizing vaginal health for taking care of the urethra, for bladder health, for preventing incontinence, UTIs, and prolapse. So sorry for the sidebar there. I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that slide. And does it help? I mean, I do get this question from women. How does moisturizing your vagina help me prevent a UTI or incontinence? Well, if the bacteria from a urinary tract infection is already in your bladder, then that is going to require likely some attention. I mean, I think it's 8 million doctor visits a year are the result of women and men, get them, and children, urinary tract infections. And it's even more prevalent after menopause because so many women are without that estrogen, and the health of the pelvic floor can suffer as a result. So if we back that up and we moisturize with hyaluronic acid, we give our bodies back what it used to make on its own, where there's a better chance of us avoiding things like UTIs and incontinence. And if we're doing all of those other things that I mentioned, like regular pelvic floor exercise, for example, and then for some of us, we're also going to want to use hormone therapy or localized estrogen therapy. So the goal of the Vagina Dialogues today is to make sure that you have that menu and the bullet points that you want to talk about with your healthcare team, or you want to either consider or rule out. There might be things that you want to rule out. You're like, oh, that's not for me. That's fine, as long as you understand the entire menu and can choose the journey that's right for you. This slide is here because it's just, every day we are getting testimonials for the vaginal moisturizer. I love what some of these women have to say. I'm equally in love with what gets posted on the Pure website, this overwhelming relief and joy. But I really like it when, a health professional comes on and says something like, I am a pelvic floor physiotherapist. I recommended this to a patient of mine to use hyaluronic acid for her vaginal and urethral burning that she had been challenged with, and nothing her GP had recommended had worked so far. But the good news is that after a few days of using the hyaluronic acid vaginal moisturizer, she was elated and her symptoms were gone. There's just a million stories that I love to share, and hopefully you can even take some of these stories and use them as script tips, because you likely have women in your life who might not have access to this information. One of the examples, early on during the pandemic, I had an email from a member of our community, and her name is Trina. And Trina wrote to me and told me about her grandmother. So her grandmother lived in a seniors community, and her regular form of exercise was going to line dancing. And her grandma loved line dancing. And then Trina or her sister heard from the home that she was in that her grandmother was no longer going to line dancing. She had just quit cold turkey. And so Trina's sister got talking to grandma, started to probe why she wasn't going dancing anymore. And grandma told her that it was because her vaginal atrophy had become so uncomfortable that she didn't like wearing the pants, the exercise pants that she was wearing to dancing or whatever, and moving in them. And so she had just stopped going. And she thought it was something that she just had to put up with. So Trina ordered her the hyaluronic acid vaginal moisturizer. And within I think it was 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, grandma was back at line dancing. And I just absolutely love sharing that story, because I think we all have women that we can have this conversation with. It's important. Okay, the title of this section was moisturizers versus lubricants. I want to switch to lubricants for a second. So moisturizers are like moisturizing our face. It's an investment. It's something that we do as part of our regular routine. It's something we do, probably most of us, every morning and every night. Lubricants, on the other hand, are not an investment. They're a one-hit wonder, and they provide a barrier to friction. That's really the goal. They're for pleasure and fun, and to provide a barrier of friction. And that's why I want you to use both. So I do normally recommend you use a moisturizer away from sexual activity and use a lubricant for pleasure and fun. Now, again, lots of learning for me. I did not know this when we launched the vaginal moisturizer, and I was talking about and taking questions about moisturizer versus lubricant. I did not know that any lubricant will not do. And this is why. Lubricants are not required to list their pH level or the osmolality on their packaging. So if you're aware of what I'm about to share with you right now, you actually have to go digging for that information, either on the manufacturer's website or call them, or I don't know. And I can't even really find good quality information on most of the manufacturer's website, except for, this is what I use, and it's called Good Clean Love. So it is pH balanced. So the normal pH of our vagina is around 4 or 4.5. Now, there's lots of things that can change that. Sperm can elevate it. Fluctuating hormones can elevate it. But what you don't want to do is to put anything in or near your vagina that's going to increase the pH level of your vagina, because you want to keep that healthy. You want to avoid things like yeast infections. And it just makes sense that you would use a lubricant that is already the same pH as your vagina already is. Two of the biggest culprits, if you are shopping for anything other than good, clean love, is stay away from warming products. So you do not want a lubricant that promises to warm you up or tingle. They're the worst culprits. And one of the other worst culprits sometimes is those brands that have the biggest marketing budgets. So it might be a brand that we've maybe known or recognized or saw ads for our entire life. Not necessarily. You do have to check and confirm whether or not it's going to disrupt the pH of the vagina. So hopefully that's some news that you can use. You can also share that with the women in your life as well. And if you want to order the vaginal moisturizer and Good Clean Love, it's available at purepharmacy.com/menopause chicks. I'm going to switch now to incontinence. One of the questions that I alluded to a couple of minutes ago is, what's the connection between moisturizing my vagina and preventing incontinence? Well, it's all an important part of our pelvic floor, and keeping the pelvic floor healthy and strong is obviously going to help us avoid and or manage incontinence. But there's one section that I really wanted to include here, and that is this number. $16 million US is the projected size of the market by 2025, which is now not that far away, for incontinence pads, disposable incontinence pads. So there's a lot of bean counters sitting around the boardroom table right now, just waiting for all of us to pee our pants. And I would like to prove them wrong, and I'm hoping that you will help me. I mean, this is sad. 58% of nursing home residents will be using disposable incontinence pads, and more females than males. What that adds up to is about $1,300 a year currently. And if we are incontinent for 40 years, or that's about $52,000. So I don't know which camp you might sit in, or if you cross over both in the treatment camp, like, oh, I'm not there yet. Oh, I don't need to see a pelvic floor physiotherapist because I don't have any symptoms. Maybe this will be the slide or the $52,000 number that will motivate you to go and book an appointment. Okay, I want to move. I'm just going to check the time. Yes, it's 1:45. These are the URLs if you want to order the vaginal moisturizer or go shopping at Pure Pharmacy. You can use code MCHICKS10 to save 10%. I dropped this link into the chat before we started, so you can go there. And yeah, I want to spend the last few minutes that we have together addressing your questions. I don't know if any of these questions are your questions. I'll leave this here for a second, but I see that we've got some comments, at least in the chat. So I'm going to close down my share screen and we can get some conversation going here. Okay. How is everybody doing? All right. So I'm going to, I love all your educational talks. Oh, that's very cool. What a great way to start this. So Angie is here for preventative care. The content you put out is also informative and helpful. I cannot thank you enough. Well, thanks for being here, Angie. Thanks for putting your own name at the top of your to-do list. Laura, I joined from a preventative perspective. That's kind of my favorite, Laura. Thoughts about the product Repagyne? Yeah, so Repagyne, I mean, I don't have an example here on my desk. I do have an example of one of their other competitors, but there is hyaluronic acid in Repagyne. It's just not listed as the first ingredient. So if you probably for food items, that ingredients have to be listed in the order of their quantity. So if the first item is not hyaluronic acid, then there's a little bit in there, but I can't tell you how much. And there might be other ingredients, because I don't have the packaging in front of me to say for sure. There might be other ingredients in there that you want to avoid. So I would just take a look at the package before you make that decision. Is there a brand thing? I think, I'm not sure if you mean moisturizer or lubricant. So these are what I use. My mission at Menopause Chicks is to always share my own story and to present all of the available options that are on the menu for you. So when you leave here, it is my hope that you feel more empowered, more informed, and that you can choose the journey that's right for you. So you might think, oh, she really wants you to order the vaginal moisturizer. Well, it's because I do, and it's because it works. But I also want to make sure that you know all of the other available options too, right? You need the full menu before you can decide what is going to be right for you. If you want to just pop into the chat, if there was something specific you wanted to ask about a brand, let me know. Anne is asking, what about the expiry date? Okay. Oh, thank you, Anne. Thanks for asking this. This is not an expiry date. It's a best use by date. So this product is compounded at Pure Pharmacy right now. It's made after you order it. And it's made at the central compounding pharmacy. And then it is put into this package and sent to your home. Any product that leaves a compounding pharmacy needs to have a best use by date on it. It's like if you bought a banana bread at the bakery today, they would tell you the best before date, because they want you to enjoy it at, before the best use by date. But with compounded pharmaceuticals, obviously it's regulated and needs that best before date. When we first started, the best use by date was really, really short because the product hadn't gone through stability testing. Now it's longer, and each batch that's sent for stability testing increases the best use by date. The other thing that I will add is that I have examples on my desk that I've been watching and keeping for 2 years. If the product doesn't change color or odor, it's okay to use. Most of the sizes have been designed so that like the 30 grams is going to last you 30 days. The 60 grams might last you 30 days as well if you're applying twice a day. But it's going to last 60 days or 2 months. So it's really designed so that you can calculate how much you're going to need and be able to use it up in that time frame. So I hope that answered your question, Anne. If you have any more, do let me know. Okay, Laura, do you have any suggestions on how to find a good pelvic floor physiotherapist? A couple of suggestions. In Canada, pelvichealthsolutions.ca has a directory. In the States, it's pelvicguru.com has a directory. What else was I going to say? In wherever you live, either in your state or province, there is generally a college or an association. Like I live in British Columbia, so it would be bcphysio.org. You can get a list there. You can also go to, and I do recommend this, go to any physiotherapy or in the States, they say physical therapy location and ask if they have a pelvic floor specialist on their team. So a pelvic floor physiotherapist is a physiotherapist who has taken additional training on the pelvic floor and be able to treat pelvic floor conditions. If they don't have one on staff, I can almost guarantee that they are going to be able to point you to someone in your local area. So try that and let me know. Okay, can the vaginal moisturizer be used together with Vagifem? Yes, and I recommend that you do that. And do the moisturizer, can it enhance the risk of UTIs? No, not that I'm aware of. I can't see, I mean, it's just hyaluronic acid and vitamin E, so there's nothing in the vaginal moisturizer that would cause or spread bacteria. But you would definitely want to be treating your UTI because there's, serious side effects to not treating that. So 2 or 3 questions in this post from our member, but I'll go back to, can vaginal moisturizers be used with Vagifem? So Vagifem is a brand name for a pharmaceutical prescribed local estrogen therapy. You can use both. You can use them. There's no interactions between the two. But what I recommend to our members is to use them at separate times of the day. And the only reason I say that is because I want you to be able to maximize the efficiency and not to have any waste. So let's say that you moisturize your face, you brush your teeth in the morning, and you moisturize your vagina, then use the Vagifem at night. Or some members will use every other day, and that seems to work well. Okay. What are your thoughts on using vaginal weights? Laura, I can't answer that question. It's really outside of my area of expertise, but I know the person to ask the question of, and Kim Votney, the Vagina coach, she also has a private community on Facebook, or if you just want to tag this question in the Menopause Chicks community, I will make sure that we get you an answer on that. Denise says, thanks for the session. Joined for the education. I'm a few years post-menopause. Thought I just needed to survive the roller coaster crazy time of perimenopause and then all would settle down. Denise, that's a common myth. And was I ever wrong? I didn't even know this was a thing that I needed to learn about along with the brain fog. Well, Denise, I have to say, for starters, you are not alone. So whatever you can take from this session and spread the word with all the women that you love, I think that's really important. 20% of women sail through perimenopause and then they wake up and they become part of that 80% in postmenopause who are affected by some of those reasons on the wheel in one of my earlier slides, not able to exercise, for example, or not be able to enjoy penetrative sex. I mean, this is something that it's about sexual health and it's about so much more. It's impacting quality of life. It's impacting relationships. It's impacting self-esteem and how we feel about ourselves. So that's the bad news. But the good news is, Denise, you're here, you're learning. And I hope that you left this session with, some confidence that there are easy, viable solutions. And we just have to make sure that we can shorten the distance between 2 points from wherever you are now and finding that best solution for you. Jennifer says, thank you for making menopause discussions more mainstream. During the preventative stage, do you use the moisturizer every day? You can. I mean, do you moisturize your hands and face every day? I do. But if you're starting out and you're wanting to prevent vaginal dryness, you can play it by ear. It's recommended that you use 1 pump a day, but you could also start with every other day and see how you get along. And that might be just enough because here's why. Hyaluronic acid is like this super strong molecule. It can carry 1,000 times its weight in moisture. So it's fantastic at actually restoring the natural moisture back into the cells of the skin cells of the vulva and the vaginal wall. Everybody is different. Everyone is at a different age and stage. You might be at a preventative stage, which is amazing, and I applaud you for that. And we have women who are moisturizing with hyaluronic acid who've been dealing with vaginal atrophy for years, in some cases, a decade or 2. So their application of the product might be 2 to 3 times a day, and your application of the product might be 2 to 3 times a week. And that's the beauty of, using something that your body used to make on its own, and you just have to, restore the, not the production, because it's, it's giving back to your body what it used to make on its own. Jane says, with respect to pelvic floor exercises, I have used some pelvic floor guided mindfulness and found this on an app. Yeah, amazing. Go watch some of the videos that Kim does on social media. Her social media channels are fantastic, but also her YouTube channel. And there's lots of great free resources, but make sure you download the Buff Muff app, because once you watch a couple of Kim's exercises, I think you'll too find that they are quite meditative. They're very relaxing. This is not a hardcore workout, but it's teaching you connection with your body, and all of that is amazing. So, oh my gosh, we did this in under an hour. I'm so proud of us. Great questions, everybody. Thank you so much. As I mentioned, I will be sending a copy of this replay via email to you tomorrow. If you have any other questions or something that comes up in conversation, or you need script tips in order to have this important conversation with the people that you love, then just drop me a note in the Menopause Chicks community. And until then, thank you so much for putting yourself at the top of your to-do list, and I will see you in the Menopause Chicks community. Oh, the other thing is that we have another masterclass. So Menopause Chicks masterclass is kind of the thing that I am committed to doing this year to make sure that we become the most health informed group on and off the internet. And so the next one is on March 15th. So I hope that you will join me then and tell everyone you know. Okay, thanks everyone. I'll talk to you soon.